He is the color voice of your Saskatchewan Roughriders on the broadcast team with Dave Thomas. He's Luc Mullinder. And ever since the big announcement from the commish on Monday, a lot of people, especially on social media, because everybody's got an opinion and a Twitter account. So why not take to it and show everybody how smart you are? Luc, how you doing? It's been a busy 48 hours, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been an engaging 48 hours, that's for sure. I mean, I love it when this many people are going to talk Canadian football, right? So I think that obviously the announcement, when was it? Yesterday? The other day?
Monday.
Monday. Yeah, Monday.
It's Wednesday. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I have a tough time.
I lose track of days. Yeah, the announcement Monday. Obviously, I'm a big fan of some of the changes, if I'm going to be honest. And I think that's when you're putting the goalposts at the back of the end zones. Obviously, the biggest thing is, we're not going to see, or we're going to see, limited run backs, right, that make the Canadian Football League so popular. When you look at a missed field goal and somebody running it back, you won't have as many of those, obviously. Now the field goal's got to start get kicked short. Obviously, there's going to be people that are really opposed to essentially losing 20 yards of field of play, right? When you take the 10 yards out of the actual field, and then you take 5 yards on each end zone. But I think that the commissioner's comments resonated with me a little bit when he was talking about, especially about the end zones. I think that Saskatchewan specifically, and the people out west, who obviously the CFL is more of a hotbed, they're not playing in Montreal 2-3 times a year, and I don't think that they see the corner of the end zones as annoying as some of our Hamilton Tiger Cats would probably tell you, or the Ottawa Red Blacks, who I'm sure have had a corner route or two cut short in terms of the thing, right? So,
and that's what made it comical. It is because that Toronto's, the end zone, it's not the same as in the other stadiums. Montreal's weird. They can't even paint a full stripe in Montreal for the goal line. I'm like, come on, are the soccer players going to be that bothered if you make it? And then having the teams on the same side, that's Bush League. These are common sense things that, why did it take till Stuart Johnston to say, whoa, let's change this. Stretch that turf, fix this. Because we can't have it. We need uniformity if we're going to call ourselves a professional sports league.
Yeah, things got to be clean, right? I think that the one I'm most interested, to be honest, is the 35-second play clock. I have a lot of scenarios that I have a question about, and obviously not scenarios that lead to like the whole, hey, our team's going to be able to kneel out the clock from now on and take away from the experience that is really the Canadian Football League coming down to the wire. Logistical questions around the execution of for instance, I was talking to my neighbor, provincial court judge today, if there's a late flag, right? Like, how does that impact the clock that's already running, for instance, right? But I completely agreed with the commissioner when he talked about it is inconsistent when you talk about the 20-second play clock. I've been up in the booth a ton of times, especially this year. I remember remarking 2 or 3 times this season specifically saying, wow, this seems to be taking a lot longer than it should be. And then finally blowing the whistle, and then the team meantime, if there's been a little bit of back and forth with the referees, I mean, a team has had a little bit of extra time, especially offensively, to get their act together, right? Get their substitutions in and things like that. So I've got a number of questions around that. And obviously the big one that people are talking about is the modified rouge. I'm really glad that they changed that rule. Somebody who's been a part of this league in some way, shape, or form since 2004, obviously a player and now as a broadcaster. I thought, and actually TSN played the clip, it was burned into my head watching, I think it was the Toronto Argonauts kicker, and he missed a kick, and they showed a clip of him still celebrating, and his teammates celebrating a missed kick. And man, I was sitting there, and that's always been burned in my mind. The fact that we could actually let something like that happen. It's like when I see these track competitions, instead of having a podium for first, second, and third, they got 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? At some point, we have to stop rewarding failure in today's society. So I'm glad the CFL took action and stopped rewarding failure in our league.
I asked the commish on Monday, because I saw that they changed the command center last year mid-season. If they know that the rouge is an embarrassment and that the only way the CFL can go viral is when a rouge incident happens, because the Riders got screwed on it in Toronto, get rid of it now. Who's going to complain? You won't have any of the 9 teams complain, because he even said in his press conference on TSN, you would hate to see a West or an East final or a Grey Cup game decided by this. So if you know this is danger, that this can cripple what you're trying to do, dust it now. Do you think anybody at the Saskatchewan Rough Rider organization or any other team would be opposed if they said, okay, the rouge rule's coming in now? If it's a bad idea next year, bad idea now. Just dust it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be opposed. I understand, though, that there are processes that you got to go through, right? And there's stakeholders that you've got to run things through. So I would agree. I think that if they change it now, great, right? If they wait a year, whatever, it's just he's right. Imagine Monday Night Football. You've got the entire country and you've got all of the NFL watchers watching in, and Chris Berman goes to, hey, look how a team won a playoff game or the Grey Cup in Canada.
Yes.
A kicker missed.
Yeah.
What? And then he misses. And you're just sitting there and you have to go into this defensive stance about the Canadian Football League game. I'm glad that's not in. And here's the deal. Listen, the foundation of the Canadian Football League is not the rouge. The foundation of the Canadian Football League is having 12 men on the field of play. The foundation of the Canadian Football League is the ratio of Canadians that are supposed to be on the field. The foundation of this league is the waggle. The foundation of the league, field-wise, is the width. It's never been about the length, okay? And the biggest thing, the foundation of this league is 3 downs. The only thing I will ever have a problem with in terms of an evolution of the game is if they would take the 3 downs out. That is as Canadian as gets. So those are 5 major foundational pieces, and none of those are touched. I don't know what everybody's up in arms for, but I understand the abrasiveness to change. That's just how we've become, I think, in society. But again, I mean, we all talk about the unique Canadian Football League, and I see the comments with people saying, "Oh, this is, we're Americanizing the sport." I don't think people understand the type of box the Canadian Football League is in right now. We are in a small box, and that box is beginning to deteriorate. Okay, 2 teams out of the 9 last year turned a profit. 2 out of 9. Okay, the 10th
Winnipeg and Saskatchewan.
The 10th team that we want in the Canadian Football League, never happening. It's not happening on the East Coast, especially in my view now on the outside work that I do. I know how the Atlantic Coast now is with those 3 provinces. I don't see an East team ever happening, and I can get into that at a later date, all right? But you then have the capacity as a country, right? We've got 41 million people in here, okay? And it's a gate-based revenue league. All right. And we have stadium challenges. Look at Calgary's dump of a stadium that they're always trying to rectify, right? Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, we've got great facilities here. The Argos, we're always questioning that. McGill, I think McGill's one of the best places to watch a football game, but I understand the challenges with that field, right? Like, this league has challenges. It's not as if I've seen sponsorship rising. As a matter of fact, I would probably assume that some of the sponsorship, especially on the team side, those sponsorships are probably declining, right? We're seeing weak franchise valuations. Like, look at the Dallas Cowboys, look at the NFL. Everybody always wants to comparison stuff. You don't have to worry about comparisons, folks. We're never going to get to the American way of life when it comes to the Canadian Football League. This is always going to be a unique league, right? I think that we just need to understand that we as a league and as fans and as players and as stakeholders and as sponsors and as a business, we are in a really small box, okay? And I would rather go down fighting. I'm not saying the league is deteriorating, okay, to the point where it's not going to exist, okay? But I have a real problem with sitting there and taking the let's see what happens angle, right? I want to fight for this league. And if Stuart Johnson comes in here with the Board of Governors and says, here are some measures that we think are going to be successful, and by the way, let's use big data like all of the other large companies in North America and the world are using, by the way. big data. Let's analyze the data. He said it himself, right? I'm sweating. I'm getting so passionate about that. But he said it himself. Let's use big data and let's make some changes that we think will spur more eyes. Will bring, we always talk about having sort of the urban disconnect, for instance, right? We're good out in Calgary, Edmonton, and Saskatchewan, but Montreal, BC, Toronto, we need viewers in those cities to really continue to move forward, right? If Stuart Johnson and the Board of Governors think this is a measure we should take, I am all for it, because the alternative is just sitting there waiting for our league to either shrink and die or just being satisfied with where it is. You know what I mean? And for all the people who are saying, oh, well, this is a Canadian, I haven't seen anybody offering examples, any other ways we can bring in gate revenue. I haven't seen all of these pundits that are so good, and you're right, that are talking on social media. Not one of them has suggested, hey, instead of this, we should do this. Right? It's so easy to challenge change when you're not part of it. And for the folks that are saying, oh, well, they should have consulted more people. You know what? I get that. You tend to want to involve as many people in the decision-making process as possible. I totally could get that complaint. But leaders have to lead at some point. It's 2025. You cannot involve everybody in the decision, okay? So for the CFL Players Association, I get it, right? You want it to be more consulted, or you want it to be brought in, okay? For certain team coaches, I get that. But the minute we start taking massive opinions, nothing gets done. We can't bring in everybody and spin in our chairs for months and months and months because we wanted everybody's opinion. No, leaders have to lead at some point, and people need to make decisions who are being paid to make those decisions. Okay, so I think that we all need to take a step back, right? I think that we need to understand that the league is in a box. We need to try to grow the game however we think is possible, okay? And for the people who are complaining, and I get it, man. My neighbor, me and him talked about it at length today, right? He hates some of the changes, but he also is smart enough to know that the league needs to grow at some point, and something has to be done. Carpe diem, man. I don't want to sit around just waiting, you know what I mean, for something to happen. Let's take action. You know what I mean? Sorry.
The reason why I'm smiling, I'm chuckling when you had said that you can't involve everybody in every decision. There's a lot of people listening and watching. They work in places where now everybody gets a vote. From the top on, and they said you spin in your chairs. The reason the term circle back has become popular is I think there's a lot of places, all they do is circle back. They kick the can down the road. Nothing gets done. Nothing gets done.
Being on your teams, your square box lights up. Luke, would you like to comment on that? Yeah, can we unpack that a little bit more? I'm just thinking that, in some demographics and regions, maybe you want to, man, you're going to do that all day. Literally, Stuart Johnson and the Board of Governors, we need leadership. I'm fine with whoever they want to pull in, and people call, again, you can't involve. There are people. Should we have taken a fan vote and said, hey, hey fans,
no,
hey fans,
trust me.
Hey,
fans, listen.
Fans, sponsors, season ticket holders, coaches, we're going to take a big vote on which rules we should take. We should change, and which rules we shouldn't. So the vote is going to take place in the month of October all the way through to the beginning of December. Do you know how long? And do you know we can't sit there and debate everything. Leaders have to lead. And at some point, I'm okay with it's not taking the CFL game and Americanizing it. I don't understand where that takes, again, the foundation of the Canadian Football League. 12 men on the field of play, the ratio, the waggle, field width, and 3 downs. They didn't mess with any of that. I would have a massive problem. I would be taking a total different angle if any of that changed. And for those people who sit there and say, oh, well, it's going to be that way by 2030, or it's going to be that by 2029. What type of way is that to live? Are we really going to sit here and MF the process and continue to stress ourselves out by worrying about something 3 years from now? Oh, man, yeah, this place is going to turn into the NFL in 2029, in 2030. What type of ridiculous, who does that? It's 2025. Really? We're
if I'm one of the
predicting
that the NFL makes billions upon billions of dollars. So I saw your Twitter exchange, Scott McCauley, Regina Thunder. You're a coach with them. They've got their Thunder dinner tonight. Let's flip the other way. Do you think minor football, junior football, and college football should adopt these rules, or should they continue to do what they do and then adapt to the CFL game for the small percentage of players that will end up trying and then playing in the CFL?
It's not a small percentage. It's 1%. 1% of high school athletes are going to move on, and 1% of those people that move on to play in youth sports, actually 4% of high school athletes are going to move on to play college or junior football, right? And 1% of that 4% are going to actually get a shot in training camp, all right? No. The leagues that are the grassroots leagues, I don't see this impacting them, right? Like, everybody goes automatically to the reconstruction of the field goal post. And I get it. That costs money, right? And like, you know what? As a former board member, and I wasn't a board member for long on the Football Board of Canada, nobody's on the same page. Anyways, like, all of a sudden we're on the same page. So all of a sudden all these provinces are uniting in this one sort of, it's not the Canadian Football League's job to string the grassroots along. It's the Canadian Football League's jobs to be part of the conversation at times. It's the Canadian Football League's jobs to be to grow the game, whether it's like contributing finances, contributing like coaches to camps and stuff like that. But these provinces, they've got to steer the direction of their thing. So to say, X amount of teams play in Mosaic Stadium. All right. So if you're going to kick a 35-yard field goal, right, for 3 points, why does that matter where the full field goal post? Doesn't a coach just say, hey, we're going to elect to kick it here? Then you go. Now the field goal thing's at the back of the end zone, right? And you say, well, that's 20 yards there. Plus 20 yards, you kick it from here, right? Seems simple. You know what I mean? And if the goalpost, I just don't get it. I know there are teams that play in CFL stadiums, but there are other venues. We're acting like U Sport, and we're acting like the Regina Thunder and Saskatoon Hilltops. They sell out the stadium. They don't, man. We got Liable Field. And you know what? I think that if there are changes to be made, let's get together. Let's do some fundraising. Hey, let's get some CFL initiatives going. Maybe there's some money in the pot. But again, I don't think the Canadian Football League, which is a business, I don't think it's their responsibility to sit there and be like, hey guys, we're thinking of changing our game that 99% of you are never going to be involved in anyways. I don't see that. I don't see why. Right. Okay. And you know what? The people that are like, the American system guys, they come up here. All of a sudden, it's a completely different rules and chatting. They seem to get along fine. Coaching matters. Like, let's coach this up. So the whole thing about, oh man, this really impacts the grassroots. We're in Saskatchewan where people play 6-man and 9-man football. The game's already different in our rural municipalities. But you know what? It's awesome because it's football. Okay? And the Canadian Football League, if you're lucky enough to get there, then guess what? You're going to get an opportunity, and here are the rules. Okay, but as far as the infrastructure to some of these fields go, but I don't see why we need to be in a rush to change anything. I think that you can regulate around it and you can coach around it. It's just the way I feel.
Yeah. I don't think when Andy Fantus got his shot to go down south and try out for an NFL team, he said to the coach on the first day, whoa. I'm not used to this 4th down. Whoa. I'm going to probably pack my bags and go back home. I'm not used to this.
Hold on a second. Guys, the film you saw of me, you saw it was 3 downs. So those spectacular plays I was making, that was like 2nd and 10, not 3rd and 10. Nobody says that, guys. Come on, let's not overthink of it. Think this thing. The foundation of the Canadian Football League is still there. If this were a pyramid, shout out to Sun Life and their sales technique, but they put it like this. Like, if this was a pyramid, okay, the reason why the pyramid is so strong is because of the foundation. Okay, and the foundation, again, is all of the things that we've talked about, those 5 pieces.
Yes.
Those aren't changed. So let's not drive ourselves crazy right now thinking about 2027 to 2030 when it's 2025. How about we get behind some of these changes, we figure out where the positive pieces are, and we attack as a league. Like, there's not 348 million people that we have to broadcast our game to. That's how many people are in the States. There's 41 million and six people in Canada. That's not a lot of people, right? We're in a box. We're not getting the 10th team. We have to think creatively. We have to figure out where changes can be made. And man, I want to die trying. I want to die trying. I do not want to sit here and let this league peter on the same level. All of our foundational fans, all of those longtime season ticket holders, I get it, man. Change is tough. But at the end of the day, what do we want our league to be? It's not going to be the Americanized or this fake NFL thing. We've tried that in the past. It hasn't worked. We're a unique game. As long as we stick to the foundation of our uniqueness, we're going to be all right. But, man, we got to try, guys. Got to try.
Week 17 of the CFL kicks off Friday. Calgary goes to Montreal. Tough place to play. And if Davis Alexander is under center for the Alouettes, it's even tougher.
Right.
Does Calgary have to prove that they're for real and win this football game? Because they're starting to go in the other direction.
Everybody has to prove they're for real right now. This is the last third of the year. This is the final 5 games. Every single team has to prove they're for real. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have to prove they're for real. You know who also knows they have to prove they're for real? The BC Lions. You see the way they're playing? You see the way their quarterback's playing?
Oh, I know.
I felt so bad for that guy. I felt so bad for Nathan Rourke, man. They mention the changes after practice and then throw them in front of the camera. I mean, what do you expect?
I know. I love it.
I would say it too if I didn't know what.
Me, exactly. But at least he was honest. I appreciate that. And the part about that is he's the CFL poster child. He's your highest paid player. He's Canadian. He's a quarterback. I'd be like, and then Stuart Johnson, I saw the rebuttal. I would love to sit down and explain to him who was on our football brain trust and go through with him. Stu's great in a press conference. He can stick handle in a phone booth. I'm like,
he's used to doing it with TSN, right? You can tell he's had some tough conversations and some tough announcements being made in TSN. But again, I'm really excited. Again, I'm excited. I can't wait to see how this plays out strategically. I can't wait to see offenses. It makes it tougher, man. For defenses, man, I'm thinking now, oh, geez. That middle of the field. Now that offensive coordinators are seatbelts off, they're not worried about the goalposts and the big thick thing. Man, they're going to be attacking. As a defender, I'm like, man, this is going to open it up so much. Just mentally not having that there, right? So again, we've got to try. At all, you know what? If it fails, fine. You know what? And if all of a sudden in 20 years the NFL buys the CFL, folds us up. And then MLSE gets to say, oh, man, we've got an entire country that's missing football. You should let us have a team. Fine, but at least we tried. At least we tried.
Hey, I agree. I'm a little worried about this. I'm a little worried about this Edmonton Eskimo Club on Saturday because they played good football over the past 8 weeks. Cody's being Cody, doing what he does. But it's that run game that's come alive, Luke. And when teams have had success against the Riders, they've been running the football, and I can't imagine that Justin Rankin is not going to see a lot of leather on Saturday.
Well, and you know what it is too. It's the AJ Ouellette problem, right? It's not just Justin Rankin running the ball. It's Justin Rankin's threat of running the ball and Cody being able to, because he's an athletic quarterback. You've got the RPO in play. You've got the play action pass in play. Right, you've got bootlegs, you've got all sorts of things that you can do with a mobile quarterback that still wants to look down the field. So I think if I'm Saskatchewan, one of the things that I know they're talking about in their locker room is, guys, we got to finish. They're not finishing in the fourth quarter. But again, this is the prove it time for the entire league. This last third of the year, teams play their best football, and they know where their gaps are, they know where their challenges are, and they know what they need to do to get over the hump and get into the playoffs. I think Edmonton's going to be a great team on Saturday. I think that the Riders are going to have to prepare like it's the most important game. It's because it is. It's the next game, and it's the last third of the season, man. This is where the drive happens. I'm so pumped about this last 5 games for Saskatchewan.
Final question. It's 30 degrees in Regina today. Is the swimming pool in your backyard still open?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And again, this is forgive me. This is such a third world problem. But when the wind blows, I'm getting all the leaves that are turning yellow on the trees as they're going in the pool.
My God.
I'm trying to enjoy myself. I'm trying to float in my, and it's just, you're getting leaves blown in the pool. For somebody who has OCD about keeping it clean, it's not a good day, but you know what? There are worse problems.
Well, then listen, if you're already feeling sensitive about that issue, I'm not even going to ask you about Sunday Night Football and the Green Bay Packers and Micah Parsons coming back to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Luke, let's leave it there. I said I'm not going to ask you about it. I will let you go with your little rake and clean the pool. Luc Mullinder.
The foundation of the Canadian Football League is intact, folks. Let's take a chance. Let's see how this goes. Okay, and stop worrying about 3 or 4 years down the line. You're going to stress yourself out. That's why so many people are dying at a young age. We're stressing over stuff we can't control. Peace.